What is going on, everyone? This is Tom from Two Guys Talking Toys, and I'm taking a look today at the Wave 1 of Aldi's Transformers. These are a blind box series, and as much as I love the Aldi Transformers, I've always hated the blind box toy collecting method because you miss out on fun things like this guy, Sunstorm, who is the exclusive in this set. Although I will say, I ordered this set off of AliExpress, and they sent me the Chase Optimus, which was kind of neat. I mean, again, it's blind packed, so you don't know which one you're going to be getting. This one is the really nice chromed out version, but I'm not gonna lie, I actually still kind of want the regular Optimus, so I'm gonna have to get another. Gonna have to order him individually. But let's get right into these guys because they are fantastic and I love them, and I think you may love them as well. I won't harp on it for too long, but I really like the way that the packaging for these boxes turned out. If you order a full set, then they just send you a full box, and you get the way that these are handled. I'm sure you've seen these in stores, but the way these are handled is that you get a full box, and then the top flap kind of folds up, and this artwork of Optimus Prime or whoever the primary figure in the line is, they pop it up, and then you set it out on the shelf and attract the attention of all the kiddies who you want to have buy it. And I've always loved this. Like, I think this is really cool. I haven't actually gotten a box set or collected the box set of anything like this since, oh, the old Laser Beast box sets that I used to buy after I rediscovered them back in like the mid to late 90s. But they had something similar to this, and I thought that was really neat, and hadn't seen anything quite like it in the stuff that I was collecting since. But these are really cool. First up is Optimus Prime because he is on the box. Like I mentioned, I lucked out and I managed to get the Chase version of him, which I think is based a little bit more on his toy appearance because you can see the little extra indentations on the mask versus what we probably would normally get, which is the more the kind of toon-based version of him. Eventually, I'll get my hands on that one as well. But we got all this nice looking chrome. We have some really, really nice detailing on this figure. Uh, and if I haven't mentioned this before, Aldi's is a just full on action figure company. They make these are non transforming action figures of Transformers. They are very, very nicely detailed. They have full articulation. We'll get into that a little bit later, but they are really, really impressive to me, which is why I jumped on the bandwagon. And after I got Wave 1, I was hooked. So I gotta catch them all. The detailing on Optimus Prime is great. They nailed it. I love that the wheels actually spin. They didn't have to, but they decided to do that. You'll notice that he's maybe looking a little bit bland, and that's because he comes with a sticker sheet that I will not be applying to him because I've never been a big fan of stickers. I never get them to lay on properly, and then I hate when they inevitably start to peel. So, sorry, Prime, you're going to be naked. You're just going to have to look good doing it. Prime also comes with his own card. I don't know if the chases come with their own individual card. I don't know if the regular Optimus Prime's card looks like this. I'm not sure. It's not. At first, I thought it was a lenticular thing, but it is not. It's just got some interesting coloring on it. So Optimus Prime comes with, mine actually came with two rifles. And I don't know if that was just a happy accident or if he was supposed to come with two. It seems weird that he would. But every now and then, I've seen reports of sometimes people may actually be missing accessories, and that is unfortunately just something that may happen depending on who's putting your set together. But yeah, so mine came with two rifles, which neat. He also comes with a whole bunch of hands, pointing hand, open hand, punchy hand. Optimus Prime stands at about 5 inches to the top of his antenna, which is a decent height. And let's get into that articulation on this. I was going to say bad boy, but he is not. He is a very good boy. If you've ever seen Optimus Prime do anything ever. So Optimus Prime has articulation at neck. I was a little surprised that that it's not a neck joint that goes up into the head and then you have the head on a ball socket, but I guess they felt it was easier to handle the neck joint separate and put that on top of a ball joint. So he has pretty decent range of motion. You have your shoulder on a ball socket as well to give you all the up and down you'll need. He does have rotation at the upper arm. You have a hinge at the elbow. It is not a double hinge, just a single hinge. You have articulation in the fist. The hands are, of course, removable. In addition to the articulation at the shoulder with the ball socket, they also have these amazing butterfly joints, which is great because you can really get in there with the. It really helps the posing, so it adds just a little bit of extra. And on a 5-inch action figure, that is very impressive. It allows you to get the hands in the positions that normally you couldn't do if this was way back up there. You couldn't double fist this rifle. Very nice. There is a hint of an ab crunch in the torso there. You can get pretty deep with it. It's not too bad. He has a twist at the waist, ball socket, and the ever impressive drop down hips for the waist articulate for the upper thighs. Swivel at the upper thigh, single hinge for the knee, but it's pretty deep. It gets in there, so you can have Optimus Prime gets up pretty high up there. Kick his own backpack. There is no cut at the lower leg because you don't need that. And we have a little bit of a hinge joint here that comes down and connects to the ankle, which I find really interesting because when you're when you're posing them, that comes in really handy depending on what you have them doing. But yeah, so this comes out and also a ball socket to give you kind of a pretty decent range of motion at the ankle for a full tilt. So there is your Optimus Prime from Aldi's, an amazing action figure. He looks really good. You can get, again, like I said, some pretty great posing with him. So this is now that we're seeing this in real time. I have 3 waves of these in hand that I fully intend to review. But one of the things that I have noticed going down the line is that Aldi, I believe, has they created wave one. And I think that as the lines progress, the molds do get better, just overall in detailing, in articulation. But they seem to be improving what they had already started. Like it's almost like this was their, yeah, not rough draft, but yeah, I guess kind of rough draft because you can see right here the tolerance on that leg hinge on that thigh hinge. It's not keeping that leg up. Now, granted, he's got wheels and a whole lot of extra lower leg, and there's a lot going on there. But it would be nice if he could hold that pose, and he is unable to do that because of the way that the weight is distributed. However, in later ways, that is not really a factor. As I go through some of the other figures, might not be a factor on those as well, but it is something that is handled. So if you are worried about them being a little bit floppy, yeah, and I guess there we go. Depending on how you lay these guys out, that articulation still holds up really well. It is still a very well articulated line, and the tolerances on the joints. I think that they do a really good job with them in wave one, just right out of the gate. But I think that as the waves go further along, they go in and they kind of tweak the formula, and that to me is a very positive sign. In case you were wondering, here is Aldi Optimus hanging out with his little blocky cousin. Blockies is another line that I absolutely love, and I absolutely plan on covering at some point. But in case you were wondering what the difference was, I do not have any YOLO Park Transformers, unfortunately. Decision was tough on whether or not I was going to get YOLO Park or if I was going to jump into Aldi, but Aldi won me over, and I really, really enjoy what they've had to offer. So if you are a fan of blockies, I absolutely recommend going out and getting yourself a whole bunch of blockies. But this is the visual difference between the two sets. They both have their strengths. It just depends on what you're looking for. Aldi Optimus Prime with his buddy Earthrise Optimus Prime. And this is part of the reason why I really, really enjoy the Auldey Transformers. Look at the detailing in comparison. Very well done. Granted, they're not. I don't want to say hindered, but they don't have to worry about all the detailing that they add affecting a transformation into a second form. So they can they have a little bit more liberty that they can take with the detailing. So Starscream has all of the same articulation as Optimus Prime, but the see, this is this is one of the that's the Wave One blues. The construction's just a little bit off. As I was saying before, in regards to this being kind of a starting point, he's a little floppy. He's the again the joint tolerances are not bad. The articulation is the same as Optimus Prime, but you get a lot more. He's a little jiggly. The detailing on the figure and them just nailing the likeness is really impressive. Starscream does in fact come with a card with some really nice artwork on there. The backs of these are all the same till all are one. Pretty good stuff. I kind of think that it would have been nice if Starscream came with a little bit more of a smirking head. There's a little bit of a smirk there. You get a little bit of a knowing smile, like he knows something you don't. But I think if we got a little bit more of a smirk on there, I think that would be really cool. It would fit the character very well. He also comes with his null ray blasters. He also comes with the done form of Megatron. He's very upset about coming with Megatron. He comes with this extra gun version of Megatron. There is another version of Starscream that Aldi came out with. It has the coronation bits where he has the shoulder pads and the cape. I'm wondering if they have plans on releasing a newly dead, new crumbling version of Starscream that's all just gray, just deep gray with an open mouth surprised expression, but they have done a really good job with Starscream. I really like the way that they handled the red and the blues. Again, these seem to be closer to the animation models versus the actual toy models, and I wonder if that's something that they plan on messing around with later. I mean, just releasing Starscream at all immediately says we will be getting Thundercracker and Skywarp at some point. And of course, the special figure in this line was Sunstorm, which makes me sad. I got to get my hands on that one. But these figures came out very nice. Again, kind of a rough draft almost. In later waves, they do improve some of the shortcomings on this, as you see the way that these are constructed. They're almost like model kits that were already put together and packaged for you to just take out and mess around with and enjoy. Um, so you may run into a little bit of that happening. And it's actually not that bad. As long as as you're fiddling around with it, you may run into that, but chances are you are not. And if it's something that really, really bugs you, a little drop of future polishing here, or just the thinnest amount of glue, I think that will hold that in place, and you won't have to worry about any of the slipping or the sliding. Next up is one of my favorite Transformers of all time, and that is Jazz. He looks great. I'm really glad that he was in the first wave because I would have been really, really impatient and really annoyed if I had to wait a long time to get a hold of him. The detailing on the face is a little bit soft. I'm not quite sure why. I don't know if it's just from the size of it because he's not a huge figure. One of the other things about Aldi is that they are taking the scaling of the figures or of the characters into consideration, which is kind of cool. It is one of the things that makes me really like the line. So compared to Optimus, Jazz is the size that he would appear in the cartoon series, which I think is awesome. I know that amongst Transformers, scale has always been, I guess, fluid at best, but I like that these figures are making it a point to really kind of lean into that size disparity. So that is kind of nice. But Jazz stands at about 4 inches as opposed to Optimus Prime's 5. The overall look of Jazz, though, like all the detailing for the robot mode, the look at the car windows on the back, the wheels. The wheels on Jazz do not spin. On Prime, they spin. On Jazz, they do not. He shares the same articulation, and he can get into some really nice posing, which I love. I think that's great. I love that they've put all this attention to detail on Jazz, and really on all of them. Like all of the Transformers in this line look really good, but they've nailed the colors, they've nailed the overall look. Again, the shape of the head, helmet looks great. The visor makes sense. It's just the mouth's a little bit of a bummer. So Jazz comes with his card. Doesn't look too bad. Back is always the same. And as far as his accessories, he does come with. I thought this was funny. Again, we're getting into the animation a little bit more. He does come with his extra megaphones. So he really wanted to have some of that cartoon fun in the episode where he brought these out. There you go. Jazz with his megaphones. He also comes with, of course, his shoulder mounted weapon, as well as some extra hands so you can have him pointing or waving or holding another weapon of some kind. And for a comparison, we'll bring in Studio Series Jazz to hang out with his buddy. And again, if we're looking at these as the new Action Masters, which is kind of how I take them, it's really cool seeing them next to their transforming counterparts. And what a great job that they did. So one of the things that Aldi has done, which I think is really interesting and very smart, is to add in every wave you get a 2-pack of some of the smaller characters. So in this case, it's Cliffjumper and Kickback. You also get with these figures, you get the additional hands, you get their weapons. So Cliffjumper comes with his bazooka, Kickback comes with his gun. You also get in their box Laserbeak, which is both annoying, I imagine, if you just want Soundwave and all of his minions, but also really smart from a marketing standpoint if you want everyone to buy everyone who's in this set. So if you pick up Cliffjumper and Kickback, you're going to get Laserbeak, but you're going to need to get these guys in order to get Soundwave and have him be complete. Which again, I can see being very annoying, but also very smart marketing. Cliffjumper and Kickback come with individual cards for wave one. Backs are the same. And some of the figures come with an Energon cube. Some of them do not. Some of them do. I don't know how they determine that. I don't know if the cubes are also blind bag. So some of the figures in this line had 2 cubes. Some of them had 1. Some of them had none. I don't know how that is determined. But for a character like Kickback, with the Insecticons were very much known for being, it's just super hungry for Energon cubes all the time. This makes sense to include with this set. So, as with everybody in the wave, Cliffjumper had, and being the size that he is, these guys are little. These are some little dudes. So hold on, let me add Jazz in there for comparison. And again, this is one of the things that I really like that Aldi is doing, where they're working with the scale of these figures to be very accurate to the cartoon. Uh, I really dig that. I like you can have these guys hang around, and this was kind of the scaling differential that was going on in the Generation One cartoon. The Cliffjumper was supposed to be a little guy, and that's what made it funny when he would run up and attack Soundwave. So it's really cool to see that carried over, and it also makes sense for Aldi to put these little guys in a two pack. So if you're buying them individually, if you're buying one box costs, each box costs the same amount. So you could be getting a regular sized character, or you could be getting two little guys, and I like that. So Cliffjumper has, and again, very impressive to only be about he's less than 3, he's 2.5 inches tall, and in a 2.5 inch action figure, they managed to get everything, all the articulation that is in the larger scale figures. The only difference being the drop down hips. You do not have drop down hips on Cliffjumper because he's just too little. Sorry, Cliffjumper. No, that upsets him. I'm a little surprised that they don't have maybe like an extra head to swap out, but that is minor. Yeah, I think an angry face. Yeah, the standard kind of blank stare is fine. But I think for Cliffjumper, who's a little bit more rambunctious, maybe like an angry face or a yelling face or a sneering face would also work really well. But he looks really good. They did a good job with him. The colors look nice. They got detailing work on him to work out really well. So I'm enjoying this a lot. And of course, here's your repaint potential by cranking out your first mini bot mold, and now we can get your Bumblebee, which we do get. We do we do get Bumblebee. There's a bug bite that comes in a later wave. Gold bug, I think, is slightly slightly based on this. And then you've got, I don't know what their deal is or is not with the BotCon exclusives, but they have been making Shattered Glass, so I don't see why that would rule out getting future characters like Glyph or Tap Out. Eventually, I hope that we'll see. Bumper is not a BotCon character, but maybe we'll get a Bumper at some point. But this is really cool to see. This is a nice step one. Now, I know that with Optimus Prime, I was kind of griping about the articulation being a little bit, having a little bit of issues with the tolerances. On Cliffjumper, there are none. This is where he was worked out very well. And I think it may just be his size. He's not having to support a whole lot of weight, and part of that is because he is so little. So the ball socket jointing on him works very well. Kickback, the first of our Insecticons. He looks really nice. They did a really good job with him. I like they nailed the detailing on him. Again, with the face, I think that the detailing is just a little bit of the duck face going on again, but also, he is also 2 inches tall, so there's only so much detailing I expect them to be able to get right on the face. I like that they went with the solid chest design instead of going with the clear. Although I wouldn't mind seeing a clear chest based on the toy design a little bit later. Again, I think these are more animation focused, so this makes a little bit more sense. Kickback came with his gun. There were the extra hands. I don't know what might plug into the back there. Maybe in a future release we're supposed to be getting something else. I'm wondering if they're going to get alt modes for these guys, because the Insecticons insect modes were just as big a part of the show as their robot modes. So I wonder if that will be coming up at some point. The articulation is the same. There is some cool added extra bits like the insect wings here. They do not move. Unfortunately, you can't rotate these up and down. It looks like they're in a fixed position on the back there. But his antenna do move. Again, same thing with articulation on Cliffjumper. He has the same articulation as the larger guys, minus the drop down hips, and he has the regular kind of a little bit of a hinge ball socket on the foot, because that extra bit that swings down, on a toy this size probably would not fit, and if it did, would not look very well. So he is one of an incoming three. Absolutely. There's another Insecticon that comes in a later wave. I think Shrapnel, if I remember correctly. Yeah, I don't think they've made Bombshell yet, but I am looking forward to it. And I'm hoping that we get maybe a variation or two out of that. Maybe we get the ones that have the red instead of the purple. That would be really neat. And here's the guy that we've all been waiting for, Soundwave. And I'm really glad that he was in wave one of this line. He looks great. They did a really good job getting all that Soundwave likeness down pat. The Decepticon symbol on the front. Really like the way that they handled the shoulder mounted cannon. His weapon looks really good. And they really nailed it. I love the blue that they went with. Again, these are based on the animation. So you're getting animation colors. I do wonder on the backs of these guys what these ports are supposed to be used for, if anything. And that might just be a mold sharing issue. There might be other characters that have something similar that they just leave these in there. But I always kind of wonder about that because Soundwave doesn't have anything that, as far as I know, he doesn't have anything that plugs in there. He also has a little bit of, I don't know if I even want to call it looseness. Some of the joints on him, as you are fiddling around with it, you might feel that they're a little easy to move, but I don't have any issues getting him to hold a pose. Articulation, again, is the same as Optimus Prime. Again, the only thing that kind of strikes me as strange with them is the decision to not make the head a separate piece that sits on top of a ball socket joint. I still think that's a little bit weird, but it doesn't really affect the figure. He can still got a pretty good range of motion. You can still do everything that you want him to do. The Soundwave comes with some extra hands. It does come with his weapons are packaged separately. Soundwave does come with a card that has some pretty neat artwork on it. I would love to see a lenticular sticker of Soundwave where he's looking forward, and as you turn it, the tape in his chest changes, or it changes to him releasing somebody. I think that would have been neat. One thing to note, well, two things to note. First, because it's the animation model, this is completely filled in and not clear. Also, this button, even though it is there, does not work. So you cannot, even though this opens, which is really cool, pressing this button does nothing. And if you want Soundwave to be complete, you're going to have to get Cliffjumper and Kickback because they come with Laserbeak. And what is Soundwave without his Laserbeak? But again, in kind of smart marketing practice for Auldey, the inclusion of Laserbeak with another character also means that down the line there will be more characters or more cassettes that come with different characters. So I believe Ravage comes with somebody in a later line. I have to double check that, but I believe you can start building out Soundwave's little minicon army as you go along in the Aldi line. So he is another one that I think was a really good choice for the opening line. The first wave has been a very smart, very well put together wave. You've got your staple characters like Prime, you've got your little guys, and Cliffjumper and Kickback. Soundwave is an evergreen character, and of course, everyone wants Starscream. So I'm really impressed with the character selection in this so far. So just for fun, let's have Soundwave hang out with his shattered glass counterpart. And again, a mold that I really like, but again, it's really cool seeing how Soundwave is handled when you don't have to take into account the cassette mode or the tape deck player mode on him. And let's have Soundwave meet his shattered glass buddy, not buddy. He would probably hate him, and they look pretty good together. Now, in hand, now that I'm kind of messing around with both of them at the same time, I can really feel that they went back and they really did tweak the tolerances on these joints here. Soundwave does not have the floppy issue that I saw with Starscream, but careful posing allows him to hit that one legged stance without the leg drooping that we saw on Optimus. But again, he's also not sporting quite as much weight on that lower leg as Optimus was. So again, the tolerances are very good. It's just that it was definitely something that Aldi took notice of on their later waves. Now, this is Shattered Glass Soundwave. He comes in a standalone special edition version by himself. I reviewed him earlier. You should go back and take a look at that. And I highly recommend getting him, but messing around with both of them at the same time, you can feel it. The way that the joints handle very much improved on the later release Soundwave model. One of the other things of note, and I will be reviewing this later as well, there is a two pack that Aldi put out that is Soundwave plus Magnificus. And I believe that is a more toy centric take on these characters. So I'm curious to see how they adjusted or maybe did not adjust the joint tolerances on that figure. Or maybe they tweaked the detailing. Because again, like I said, I think that is more toy based than animation based. Yes, Soundwave, definitely another plus in this line. And last but certainly not least in the line, we get our first female Transformer, Arcee. She looks really good. And again, I think that they did a better job on her face than some of the male Transformers. I really like the way that they handled the detailing on that. This is accurate. Her upper arms, her hands, and her face are a different shade of pink from the rest of her, and the other parts of her body are, in fact, just flat white. But again, they've done a really good job getting all the detailing on the backpack, on the waist, the leg detailing is really good because she is a female transformer. They have really, really thinned out the proportions on her limbs or the amount of plastic. Really, it's really not a whole lot going on. She does not feel frail, which is impressive. Despite the thinness of the limbs. Like I was when I first took her out of the package, I was concerned of breakage just right away. But these hold up pretty well. I don't know. I don't think I would be upset if they made her a little bit thicker. That if they maybe beef these up a little bit, I think that would be fine. RC comes with a pretty decent amount of stuff. She has her handheld blasters. She comes with some extra hands. She's got she's got herself a pretty decent sized rifle. Of course, there is her artwork, which is very nice. And she comes with a whole lot of energon cubes. And again, like if you wanted to troop build these cubes, that definitely makes sense because we've got a whole bunch of Decepticons. And I kind of thought that more of these would come with Soundwave since he was the cube maker, but RC gets them. Maybe that's just another reason to buy more of this wave so you can really pack out Soundwave with more of that stuff. RC is very well done. Again, the kind of same articulation, except for the lack of butterfly joints because the torso is so small. I don't know if it could accommodate butterfly joints even if they wanted to add those in. Ball sockets here, the way that they're pegged in, you can see there's a little bit of an extra gap here to give you a little bit of a back to front motion. So it's not a full butterfly joint, but you can get a little bit more range of motion out of them than just a normal, just straight out peg with a socket on it. It's not too bad. She also is lacking the drop down hips, and I'm sure that's because of just the lack of mass that is in this figure. So this is kind of interesting. In addition to the ab crunch that she has, and there is the swivel at the not quite the waist, kind of more of the at the midsection right across the belly. So there is a twist there, but she also has now. Granted, they did not include the drop down hips on her, but what they did include is this extra pivot right in like the lower waist area. So she has kind of a full bowling pin ish range of motion there. I like seeing stuff like this because it doesn't make the line so uniform. Like they may not be able to do one thing with a figure, but they figured out a way to add something else to make it just as interesting. So that is very cool. Good job, Aldi. So it is very cool to have RC look this good, appear in the first wave, and this, of course, opens up the door for all kinds of repaint options. I could absolutely see us getting possibly a Paradron medic out of this. I could see them just repainting her just straight up with more white as she appeared in later episodes. I could see them doing, oh, if they wanted to homage the missing link version of RC in those colors, those intended original uh, G1 colors before they settled on this, that would be really cool to see as well. Because the more female bots, the better. So I think one of the biggest arguments for having a figure line that does this, that Aldi has done really, really well, is comparing RC to RC. Look at all that. And this is what you have to do to get RC to look the way that she does in a transformable action figure way. But it is not something that a full on action figure series has to do to get a really good, really clean look out of a character. So this is part of the reason why I think it's important to have a series like Aldi, like a YOLO Park, or like a Blockies doing these kind of action figures. I know that we have the contingent of fans who don't want to have anything to do with Transformers that don't transform, but I really like having these just appreciating the robot forms of these guys. I think that it is really well done, and it just allows you to have a little bit more fun with them and play around with their proportions and get everything as sleek and as streamlined as they would like to have had them look in the animation models and in the production. And again, I really think that a testament to the design team to be able to get figures that look like this. Even though she's sporting the giant backpack, overall, I really, really like the studio series line. You're making a car that's turning into a robot and still have tons of articulation. So they handle that really, really well. So, at the end of the day, I would highly recommend getting your hands on the Wave 1 Aldi's Transformers. I think that these are the perfect next step in Action Masters. I think that this is what they were going for in the 80s. They weren't quite able to do it because the engineering and the technology wasn't there yet, but these really seem to nail it. If anything, it's kind of like getting a model kit that's already been put together. The articulation on these figures is great. I love that they include things like butterfly joints. They have that really, really great drop down hip articulation that makes them able to do all kinds of really great poses. And it's really cool to see that applied to characters when they don't have to worry about the transformation gimmick being the main point of concern. They can just focus on how well articulated can we make these characters. I would highly recommend. So I hope that you have enjoyed this review. If you have, like and subscribe to the channel. It's new. I've split this off from Two Guys Talking Toys. If you're interested in hearing two guys talk about toys, then I recommend jumping over to the other channel. We are not producing new episodes at the moment, but we have a big back catalog where we discuss play sets, toy reviews, the pricing. We get into all of it. So go and check that out. Tell your friends, tell your buddies, and until next time, take care, everybody.